You're listening to Cars and Coffee, your local home for the latest in motorsports and automotive news here on 91.3 WHJE. And now, here's your host, Nathan Ward. Hello, and welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. We've got some little bit of IndyCar news, a whole lot of sports car news, considering the development that arose right after I put the last week's show out. One of the Rolex 24 winners has been disqualified. We'll get to that in a little bit. But first off, if you want to get in touch with the show anytime, go to our Instagram at carsandcoffee_WHJE and follow WHJE_radio on Instagram as well. You can find full live show replays on YouTube at youtube.com/TWIRvids, and you can listen live anywhere at WHJE.com. Going into the IndyCar news, there's not a lot here. Probably just because we're at that point in the offseason where all the driver lineups, bar one, have been decided already. And knowing my timing, there's probably going to be something that breaks either while I'm airing this show or right after I leave the booth. So, if that happens, tune in next week. So, we've got Fox. The Venue Sports streaming service is dead. It lost a lawsuit to Fubo TV or something because it wanted to take all of Fubo's networks, which, as a Fubo TV user myself, I'm kind of glad that Venue lost that one because I want to watch TV sometimes. But Fox is going to be streaming the Super Bowl on Tubi and is I think they're going to stream the season opening IndyCar race at St. Petersburg and the Indy 500 on Tubi as well. But they're planning for 2026 onward a dedicated streaming service that will include IndyCar content, which is great because a lot of the people that were worried about the IndyCar on Fox TV deal was there's no streaming option. With NBC, you had Peacock, but they don't really have that now. But so if you don't have a cable subscription, you can't watch practice and qualifying, which is not the end of the world, but I understand where some diehard fans, like the 20 diehard IndyCar fans, including myself, would want to do that. But if you have a cable subscription or use a service like Fubo, you don't need it, because I have a basic Fubo package, and it comes with FS1 and FS2, so I'm going to get all the Indy Next races, I'm going to get all the qualifying, and I'm going to get all the races. So it's going to be, that's good for the people that still prefer streaming. That really alleviates the last major negative from the Fox TV deal. That was really the only thing people were mad about. At first, it was the production, because Fox's NASCAR broadcasts have been subpar. We got that a little bit at the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium this weekend. Just kept showing fans eating popcorn. I'm like, there's 17,000 people there. There are fewer fans there than at every other race, and you still find a way to show the fans for half the race. It's just weird. But on another note regarding the Clash at the Coliseum, or not, it's not at the Coliseum anymore. It's at Bowman Gray Stadium. But regarding the Clash, there were some real dumb broadcast moments on Fox's part. There was one where I think it was John Hunter Nemechek got punted into the wall. They showed the first 3 laps around Bowman Gray Stadium before the incident happened and cut back to the caution lap right as the accident was happening. So we saw his onboard, but only for the 3 laps beforehand. So, yeah, great job, Fox. Just wonderful production. But good that IMS Productions is gonna keep Fox out of IndyCar, hopefully, or keep Fox out of ruining our broadcasts. But the only other bit of IndyCar news that there is Tim Cindric has left his post at Team Penske, or left his head of everything post at Team Penske, where he was basically Roger's number 2. He oversaw everything: IndyCar, NASCAR, WEC, IMSA, whole bunch. he has left that almost right-hand man role to focus on the IndyCar team specifically, which, interestingly, Joseph Newgarden is going to be going for his third straight Indy 500. But he didn't win the 500 with Tim Cindric last year because Tim Cindric was suspended for the 500 because of push-to-pass gate. So, yeah, Cindric hopefully going to focus on IndyCar and hopefully not, forget to turn the push-to-pass off. So, not a lot of IndyCar news. That's pretty much it. But we have one bit of F1 news, and it's not it's not super important in the grand scheme of things. The entire driver lineup's set, really. Guan Yu Zhou, or Guan Yu Slow, depending on where you are, has joined Ferrari as a reserve driver alongside Antonio Giovinazzi, which, Robert Schwartzman left to go to IndyCar, and they needed to fill a reserve driver. So, you've got Guan Yu Zhou. Hopefully, and I mean hopefully because this might cost Ferrari a Constructors' Championship, hopefully he won't need to drive. So, yeah, that's the only bit of F1 news. And the only, we have some IMSA news. We actually have some very, very important IMSA news. The Tower Motorsports LMP2 entry has been disqualified from its win at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. I considered doing like a midweek show to fix this because it happened right after I did my last show. I think it came out like Wednesday and I did the show Tuesday. Something like that where I like just missed it when I was making my Rolex 24 recap show. So, number 8 car has been disqualified. Sebastian Bourdais, you're not a Rolex 24 winner. The United Autosports number 22 has inherited the LMP2 win. Man, I don't have the driver lineup pulled up. That sucks. So, I don't have the driver lineup pulled up for the United LMP2 car. So, congratulations to whoever you are. I think it's like Dan Goldberg and his crew. Lamborghini has declared 2025 as a quote-unquote development year for the LMDH car. So, the Lamborghini SC63, the only Lamborghini hypercar in the Rolex 24 field, retired after only an hour due to the car overheating. Not good. Clearly not good. So, they've kind of declared this a development year. They can add... They're probably going to burn all their Joker upgrades. They're probably going to burn all their Joker upgrades on the development this year. So, yeah, it's my favorite of the LMDH cars. It's sad that it doesn't do that well. So, yeah. But they are also looking for new partners in customer teams because they left the WEC because they weren't able to run 2 cars from the factory and also run 1 car in IMSA. So they're going to keep doing the Endurance Cup in IMSA with Riley Motorsports now, which runs the Lamborghini program. They're looking for new partners after splitting with Iron Lynx in the offseason to come back to the WEC. Which would be great because we're getting a lot of hypercar manufacturers in the WEC, to the point where the WEC might have to start kicking GT3 teams out because we're going to have more manufacturers coming in. We have one more that's definitely going to come in that we're going to talk about later after this next song break. But this truly is the golden age of sports car racing with how many entries we have in the top class vying for overall wins at races like the 24 Hours of Daytona, 12 Hours of Sebring, 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's just, sports car racing has revitalized itself with this new wave of manufacturer involvement. And if IndyCar can learn, it would be incredible. But really, I don't think IndyCar is changing with the times. It's just not. You won't, as a manufacturer, you will not commit to a regulation set you know nothing about a year and a half before the regulation set, or 2 years before the regulation set's supposed to come in. You can't do that. You're not going to be able to put together a functioning engine. That's just not how that works. You can't do that. So the fact that the next generation of IndyCar regulations have stayed I don't know, secret for so long, or they haven't even decided on what they're going to be yet. Quite concerning in terms of manufacturer involvement, because we're still trying to get Honda to stay. It's looking more positive compared to what, according to what Marshall Pruitt's been saying, but we don't know for certain if Honda's going to extend their contract, which is not good. We don't need we could benefit a little bit from a spec sport from a competition standpoint. Put all the focus in the drivers, because that really shows the driver talent. But having the brand recognition, the name recognition, that's what you need for a sport, and IndyCar is beginning to lose that, which is not good. But back to sports cars. The Aston Martin Valkyrie LMH has been revealed. Beautiful car. It has a beautiful sounding engine that, fun fact, they had to cut the horsepower in half to turn the road car engine into the Le Mans HYPERCAR engine, because Le Mans HYPERCAR only has the limit on the horsepower for the Le Mans HYPERCARs and for the LMDH cars is 600 horsepower, or 600 something horsepower. The stock Valkyrie LMH, or stock Valkyrie like AMR Pro engine, 1200 horsepower. They had to cut the horsepower in half to make this thing legal, which is crazy. It's also the best sounding car on the grid, or the best sounding car that will be on the grid. But the Heart of Racing has come out and revealed its driver lineups for its 3 cars that's going to be running in global competition. One that will be running in IMSA, and the 2 that will run in the WEC, because you have to run two cars in WEC now, because they really want to be Formula 1. So the number 23, the GTP car that will run in America, is going to be, the 2 full-time drivers have been announced. They're going to be Ross Gunn and Roman DeAngelis, both veterans of the Heart of Racing GTD Pro program and the GTD program. They've been here since pretty much the beginning. They're going to have a 3rd driver, according to the head of the program, but they haven't decided on who that's going to be. You still have 5 weeks until 24 hours of Sebring. You have plenty of time to get somebody signed. You've plenty of people within the Aston Martin pipeline. You could even get someone on the WEC team to hop over to America and do one race. But we'll talk about the WEC team a little bit later. That is it for the news on this side of the Atlantic. When we come back, we are going to talk about some WEC news and some SRO and Global GT World Challenge news. You're listening to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJ. My name's Nathan Ward. For this song break, we're going to play Head Full of Doubt and Road Full of Promise by the Avett Brothers. Don't go anywhere. Cars and Coffee will be right back here on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this right now, that means you're listening to the YouTube version of the show. I just want to say thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss another show and more highlights from the TWYR channel. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee on 91.3 WHJE. Welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. That was Head Full of Doubt, Road Full of Promise by the Avett Brothers. One of my favorite songs. I grew up on the Avett Brothers. I am a huge Avett Brothers fan. Back to the sports car news. We're talking about IMSA. Let's head to the other side of the Atlantic and talk about the World Endurance Championship. We have some big news, more manufacturer involvement. Ford is coming back, and they're going to take their rivalry with Ferrari back to the top class for the first time in over 50 years with a new LMDH program and a return to the top class of Le Mans beginning in 2027. I like this. So I have one major point to make here. Audi, you can do Formula 1 and sports cars at the same time. Audi and Ford are pretty much on par. They just have different markets. the fact that Audi had to pull out of sports cars to do Formula One is kind of sad. Ford's showing that you can do both. So, and yeah, Ford's commitment to F1 is basically just, is basically just badging the engines that Red Bull builds, but still, Audi's probably putting Audi's putting a lot more effort into the F1 program than Ford is, but still, you can do both at the same time. Ford's going to prove it. So, going to be awesome to see possible Ford versus Ferrari battle for the win overall at Le Mans 60 years after the original. We're gonna get the futuristic reboot of Ford versus Ferrari. I don't know if I've been living under a rock, but apparently this happened like 2 months ago. The LMGT3 color code. So in WEC and in IMSA to an extent, but they're both different. Each class of car has a color code to separate them, or to distinguish them on track and on the timing sheets. In IMSA, GTP is black or white, depending on the graphics. You can flip them around for aesthetic reasons. LMP2 is blue, GTD Pro is red, and GTD is green. In WEC and at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, it's very much the same, except in HYPERCAR, it's red, LMP2 is blue, and last year LMGT3 was orange. But since the only two full season classes are HYPERCAR and LMGT3, and their two colors are red and orange, who, for all you art people out there, are right next to each other on the color wheel, it's kind of hard to distinguish that on a graphic, especially if you're colorblind. They have switched the color code for LMGT3 from orange back to green, which is what the color code was for GTD Pro. Not GTD Pro, GTE Pro, when that was a thing. So I really like this decision because I always thought it should be green, just for the contrast. As someone who's very familiar with color theory, I think that red and green was a whole lot better of a contrast than red and orange. Because on the graphics, WEC's graphics are like semi-transparent for their broadcasts. It's very hard to tell, especially with the red and the orange class colors, which car's in what class. You kind of have to rely on the team names, and not every fan is as much of a nerd as I am to know what the team names are. So I really like that from an aesthetic and from a fan, I don't know what to call it, fan happiness point of view. You can call it that, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm glad they did that, because that's really what it should have been from the beginning. We have some more driver lineups. We have two teams that have announced their full driver lineups. We've had Alpine and we've had Aston Martin. The Alpine revealed their car a couple weeks ago, or a couple days ago. They moved the number. They moved the number plate to like the past quote unquote passenger side, because it's a prototype. It's just a big pod. They moved it from the passenger side of the car right to the center, and I don't like it in the center. It just doesn't look right. It looks like it's about to fall off the. It looks like it's about to fall off the car. I'm not a fan. I liked it offset to the side, but they've announced their driver lineups for the number 35 and 36 A4, not A420. I don't even remember what the car is called. Look at me. But you can't, because I'm on the radio. So the number 35 car will be driven by Paul-Loup Chatin, Charles Malaysia, and Ferdinand Habsburg-Lothringen, who, yes, is part of the. There are some. I'm gonna bring out my inner history nerd here. There are multiple alternate timelines where Ferdinand Habsburg-Lothringen could be either Emperor of Austria, King of Hungary, King of Spain, or there's so many, because he's the heir apparent to the House of Habsburg-Lothringen, who had been a major force of European politics for hundreds of years, and then World War I happened. So that's kind of an interesting place where my two interests converge. Is just this one dude who's raised in not royalty or nobility, but like he's been wealthy and his ancestors are royalty. So it's kind of an interesting clash between my two interests of history and motorsports. So that's kind of cool. I always root for him because of his interesting connection to my other interests. But the number 36 will be driven by Mick Schumacher, Jules Gounon, and Fred Makovecki, who is coming over from Porsche. This is a really good lineup. So I think, well, both are really good lineups for Alpine. So if the engine stays in one piece, which it's a French-built engine, so that's not really guaranteed, that those cars will be fighting for wins in the shorter races. Le Mans, I don't know, man. They declined on changing their engine at all, so I don't think those cars are making it through Le Mans. Hot take. You can come back to this episode in June and tell me if I'm wrong. I'll be waiting. But the Heart of Racing Aston Martin lineups were also revealed. Talked about that earlier on the IMSA side of the news. They've chosen some interesting numbers here. So the first car is the 007. What on earth? 007, as in James Bond. The James Bond 007 Aston Martin Valkyrie LMH will be driven by Harry Tinknell, Tom Gamble, and Ross Gunn, who is driving the IMSA car, will join for Le Mans. The two IMSA drivers, Ross Gunn and Roman DeAngelis, will join as the third drivers for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I don't know what they're going to do with the 8-hour races at like Bahrain, and I think there's one other. I think Qatar's pretty long too. I don't know if their plan is just to go with two drivers or find a third somewhere, because there isn't a clash with IMSA on the Qatar weekend, so I'm not sure if they're going to bring in Gunn and DeAngelis, but I don't know. But anyway, alongside Roman DeAngelis, for Le Mans at least, in the 009 car, the two full-season WEC drivers for the 009 Aston Martin Valkyrie will be Marco Sorensen and Alex Riberas. It's a really good lineup. I really like the Aston Martin Valkyrie. I've been hoping that program succeeded, because I remember when HYPERCAR was first, when they were first, drafting the regulations for HYPERCAR, Aston Martin was one of the first teams to sign up to the HYPERCAR regulation set. Then they canned the program in 2020 right before COVID happened. Elementary school me was very sad because I loved the Aston Martin Valkyrie. Still do. I'm so glad they brought it back. That car is incredibly loud and incredibly cool. I really hope it wins something. Because that way I can talk about it more here. I have a new section of the show here before I get off the air here and finish up the show. Our last section of the show, since there are no races, is the very small bit of SRO and GT World Challenge news. There really isn't much here, except for Chevrolet has joined Global World Challenge, which is basically just the big worldwide manufacturers championship. They are the 10th manufacturer. They have joined with the Z06 GT3R, which is the spiritual successor to the C8R, which I'm really glad Chevy still... Well, of course Chevy would adapt, change with the times. When GTE died out, they had to run the GTE car sandbagged for a while they built their new Z06 GT3R. But that car is now going to be part of the Global World Challenge Manufacturers Championship as the 10th manufacturer to do so. And the final bit of news in GT World Challenge America is that we are going to have a Ford Mustang GT3. It's going to be run by Dolomite Racing. We don't know much more. It's going to be there. And that's cool because I love the Ford Mustang GT3. And Random Vandals Racing, BMW team. This is kind of IndyCar adjacent. They're going to be full season with two BMW. I don't think Kenton Cook is a BMW factory driver, but Connor DeFilippi certainly is. He will be driving their BMW M4 GT3 Evo alongside Kenton Cook, and Connor Daly will join them for the Indianapolis 8-hour race in October. So that is it for the news section of this episode of Cars and Coffee. Reminder to, if you want to get in touch with the station or come on the show sometime, follow us on our Instagram at carsandcoffee_WHJE and follow the official WHJE account at WHJE_radio. You can find show replays anywhere on YouTube at youtube.com/TWIRvids. And you can listen live anywhere, no matter where you are in the world, at WHJE.com. Thank you for listening to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. Here's Colors by Beck.